So what are we going to discuss today?
Well, I was thinking of picking your brain a little bit today. I wanted to ask you a few questions. So I haven't prepared anything, but it was basically I wanted to see your background and where you came from, um, and why you went the spirituality avenue rather than religion. So if we start off as you were a kid, was religion part of your life?
No, actually, back to like people might class me as an alien potentially, but I did come from mum and dad, so and I grew from there. But I didn't grow up at all with religion. My dad didn't really was more of an atheist, and my mum just said sort of believed in something, but didn't just said it was up to me really and my sister what we believe, which is interesting because my sisters we're aligning more and more. Not that we're ever out of alignment, so to speak, but our understandings sort of have been individually becoming closer with how we perceive things, which is pretty interesting and nice. But
Okay.
yeah, so I just went through suffering, and I didn't like in primary school. My parents didn't get along all the time. That they clashed a bit, like a lot of parents do. So I went through suffering, obviously, and kids naturally blame themselves. So although reflecting now, I know it had nothing to do with me. At the time, you just think that you're a big part of the issue. So you sort of fall into suffering mind. Yeah, I didn't go to, didn't go to church or anything like that. I went to church bands and stuff. That's just to check out the chicks.
Good enough reason.
Yeah, but I didn't like when I was there, and people would try and get you into their church or their beliefs. I'd feel guilty because they say, oh, that, mate, they'd talk to you about if you're not going to church and doing things, and that you'd sort of feel bad, and then they go that guilt that you feel is God calling you, and I didn't like the pressure, so
okay.
that sort of turned me against it, the whole way in a sense. And I also thought that I was aware of in late primary school more so, and in high school I was aware there's many religions around the world, and I thought, well, everyone says that their religion is the one true religion. And in my mind, my analytical mind, it's like, well, how, there's so many people with so many religions that if you die and go to hell or heaven, go to the pearly gates, and God says, believe in Buddhism, you've never harmed anything. It's Christianity is the way. So you're going to have to go to hell. Sorry about that, bad luck, bit of misfortune.
Yeah.
Like, don't you control all things? Yeah, but that was an accident.
Yeah.
In my mind, it just didn't make sense. And not to say that, and my perspective now from an adult is, if what you think and feel or believe, or the basis of your understanding, if it empowers you, drives you to doing the right thing within yourself, if it motivates you to be a better person, who am I to say, no, it's false?
Yeah.
So I just think that's my understanding is, if your belief or faith, or if it brings out the best in you, and if it's about discovering your heart and accepting and embodies compassion, then what's wrong with it? But I for myself, I wasn't drawn to one or the other because I didn't know. I did try when I was going through suffering, when I was playing football, or rugby league, that was my escape. And from my suffering, that was where I could vent. And people close to me saying, you didn't look interested, and you don't look like you even want to be out there. And you go through times. I went through times where I really questioned, and and things would crop up in my mind on the football field at times, and sometimes I didn't feel interested, or if things don't go your way, or I've always been questioning, and just you forget the questions sometimes playing football, which is a nice thing, but sometimes they still crop up and it impacts your game. That was my experience. There was always that void. I had some experiences that I wasn't sure if I would share with the world, because might seem he's crazy, this guy. He's out. And I didn't want people, if people can identify with some of my experiences, and that's a great thing. But If they can't identify, then they might think, well, nah, I'm different. So what he says doesn't apply to me. I don't agree with that. I think we can all experience many things if we're open to the possibility. That's what I truly feel. So when I was playing, I had a contract with Parramatta, 1991, and I still felt a lot of suffering within. And you might think it's interesting outside appearances where it's easy to think, well, he's got a contract, he's on top of the world, he's got a lot of potential, or the world's at his feet. And I didn't feel that at the time. I just felt I couldn't understand why. I was staying in a townhouse where I was renting, and I was on my own this night in particular, and I was lying there, and I felt miserable. I was crying actually, and I had all these emotions come up, and I sort of spoke to God, like, give me a sign that I'm where I'm meant to be, heading in the direction I'm meant to be heading in. And this is might sound a bit weird because I had no religious upbringing, but I always felt something at different times. And like even I hope I'm not going too much all over the place, but when I was really young, primary school, I used to fear. I think I felt things, and I used to fear spirits and fear things. So I'd sleep with a blanket fully over me, and I'd just have a little air hole for me to breathe, and that's how I slept many nights.
Yeah.
And back to this time where I spoke to God and said, "Give me a sign, something like I feel like I'm suffering, I'm miserable. Give me a sign that there's a sense of purpose, there's something." And I fell asleep. I sort of cried myself to sleep, and the radio came on at 2 a.m. and it woke me up. And the song that was playing was basically "You're on the Eve of Destruction," and just it freaked me out because it was where I felt I was heading. And the song straight after that was basically "There's Hope," and it was a song basically saying "Head to the light," or that it gave me a sense of peace. And I went over, pressed the alarm clock, and this is the old-fashioned alarm clocks, 100 years ago, where there's only one alarm you could set. You could set multiple alarms.
Yeah.
It's the alarm, and it came up 6 o'clock because I get up at 6 to go to work. So 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., both these songs came on. One was where I was heading, and the other one was where I should go, and gave me a better focus. Yeah. Is that random? I don't believe in random. So I've had a lot of things happen to me over the years that are similar to that, to varying degrees, and that has sort of steered me. And so, yeah, definitely not a religious background or upbringing, but I've always been able to feel things. And yeah, I feel to the point where this is something profound. This is where my life really changed. So I got a sense of something, and a sense of support from that moment. I was about 18 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And the biggest, and I've had the next thing that really changed my life, and I think this was probably the biggest change, massive direction. I was laying on my bed. I was home alone, and I was suffering, and because I started falling into sort of potentially depression at the time. I was just suffering a lot, and I remember reading a book on POW, and they said, what's POW mean to you? And a lot of people just think prisoner of war naturally, and it's talking about this. This unraveled a few things, a few stones within my foundation were sort of fractured, you could say. And this book was, I can't remember what it was called. Maybe it was POW, but it was talking about the psychology of winning. And I remember reading that thing. Oh yeah, because they said, well, what you naturally sort of think when you relate to is the reality you create. And I'll never forget that, because I thought, okay, psychology of winning. Yeah, okay, yep. I want that to be, and obviously not. You don't turn your back on anything, but it's the first thing you want to. The first thing you relate to is important. And so held that with me, psychology of winning. That's what POW will mean to me from now, psychology of winning. But I fell back into suffering, and I was laying in my bed, and I started talking to God, and this is my analytical mind. I remember saying, God, I'm suffering. and there's nothing I can do about it. And everything I've tried to do, I've failed because I'm still
Mm.
suffering as much now as I ever have. And it hit me. It just clicked. It just dawned on me. I went, there can be no greater joy, I imagine, than to serve that which has created everything. So my understanding and the feelings I had, and this wasn't religious, like it was just a feeling that the fact that everything exists how it does and the balance of all things, and not understood any of it or a speck, not even a speck in the universe. And I'd say it's like that today. Like it's always unraveling. But I thought there can be no greater joy than to serve the potential and that which has that's allowed all this and the potential and the nothingness. And to me, God is all encompassing, is, all that will be, all that and potential and the emptiness within that excludes no. And I may have described it different, but that's, I guess, the sense that I carried with me. So when I realized that there can be no greater joy than to serve that which has allowed everything to come to be, then it was just obvious to me. I went, I only want to serve God. That is it. I'm here to serve you. And that's a huge thing for a 21-year-old that was immersed in suffering to decide.
Yeah.
So, and that's it within me. It's like, yep, I'm yours, without any idea or any affiliation to anything. But ultimately, I became willing to trust that inner voice and that inner guidance.
Yep.
Not to say I had been misled. Well, to have I been misled, because even the choices and at times where I've lashed out and done stupid things, like it all led me more deeply into my heart. So it was profound for me. And so over the years, that sentiment remains, and not only remains, he's stronger now than it ever has been. And not to say I'm the messenger or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's my journey. It's what I feel. And I encourage everyone to find their own.
Yeah.
And as you know, since you've known me, it's no one has to go my way or do what I do. But that inner voice is in every single being, and everything that we're about is to encourage others to discover what that is, and to offer something that other people may not consider can offer a greater sense of freedom. At least allow someone to unravel something extra. So
Yeah.
I think I feel like it's like a massive ship going in the wrong direction. Takes a long time to turn around, but then I discovered Sanskrit, and I learned that ceremony. It was almost like a second language, where like all sorts of mantras, like very easily, and I learned American Indian things and all sorts. So it all points in the same direction to me.
Yeah.
So there was no affiliation. I feel being open to the possibilities and allowing my intuition and my integrity to guide me. And if it didn't feel right, I avoided it. Like I've never done a seance in my life, and I don't do anything dark or negative things. I mean, I think the things you dabble in is what you invite in.
Yeah.
And I feel I just feel the more I feel supported, the more I want to support truth, integrity, and not to say I've always been true and have had integrity throughout my life. It's not about that. It's about how you live and how you think and how you feel now in this moment.
Yeah.
And I feel then when it comes to forgiveness, forgive others. But ultimately, if you want to go very deep, in my experience, you only can ever truly forgive yourself. And when you forgive yourself, then you forgive those around you, because your understanding expands. So you realize that it's not personal, although it feels personal. It's a misunderstanding within others, or they're disconnected from themselves to be able to do some pretty shocking things or cruel things or cause pain on any level,
Yeah.
So people pain and create pain on purpose, but people are nowhere near close to their heart. The further they are, the less they feel, the more they have to do to create some sense of feeling. Because there's dark people out there, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask, you went to India later in your life, and I wanted to know what, first of all, drove you there? And then also I wanted to know, because I do know you have an affinity, special affinity for Ganesha. So why Ganesha out of all the deities and things in the world? Why Ganesha?
All right. Well, the first question, why I went to India, because I didn't know about Ganesha before I went to India, and I didn't know about hardly anything. Still don't probably. So, um, but I went there when I had a spiritual teacher in the 90s. I learned about gurus and different things. And then I saw in the intro, my first fireside chat, I mentioned about going to Denmark and meeting Gangaji. And I didn't feel she was my guru necessarily. I didn't even think about that actually at the time. I just thought, wow, that is amazing. That is profound. Someone so much in their heart, and the love from their eyes just radiating. It was profound. As I learned more and discovered healing and different aspects and meditating, and I just wanted to enhance. Like the reason I did my diploma in hypnosis, in clinical hypnosis, when I was 21, I wanted to enhance what I had access to, and I just wanted to. I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, and maybe not so much now, because you just sort of start letting go instead of judging everything. But I wanted, I felt things when I started meditating. I used to get head spins and all sorts of things that I used to feel all sorts of things going on. And I wanted to enhance the spiritual journey and everything I could feel. So learning about a guru, I went, I want one. And I went, I want there. I'm going to go there. And I'd spoken to people that knew where she was. And if someone had mentioned maybe another guru, maybe I would have went somewhere else. So, but what I found out, I just trusted what came my way, and I embraced it. So I went there with the specific idea of having a guru and going deeper in myself. And when I first went over there, I thought, I hope I'm good enough, I hope I'm deep enough within myself to have a guru. And I hope I'm dedicated enough, and I almost like hope I passed the test within, they might look at me and say, no, you're not worthy, because that fear was there. Like on the spiritual journey, the biggest arm wrestle in my experience that I had with myself is maybe I'm not worthy. And it doesn't matter. Like I've done interesting healing things with others, and I've experienced different things, but that worthiness, when you really start embracing the spiritual journey, that's in the back of your mind. And everyone is worthy. It's just a matter of starting to believe and let go. And so I went there and I got swept off my feet. And the first time I went over there with a very good friend of mine. We both wanted to have a guru. And we stayed there for nearly 3 months, and we just soaked it all up. And we got there one afternoon. The following morning was the first ceremony that I've witnessed in India. Oh, my girlfriend and myself, and we just participated. Anyone could just, if you were there, you could go there, and they gave you a sheet of paper with all the Sanskrit words, and I had no clue. It sounded completely foreign. But after my very first witnessing of the Ganesha ceremony, which went for 15 minutes, it changed me. Something I felt anger, and I had frustration from playing rugby league, and built up frustrations. So I felt sort of closed. I felt like a knot in my heart, and actually something unraveled. And it's the first time I felt flow like that. And I went, okay. So rather than thinking, it's got nothing to do with Ganesha, like the only thing that I've done different, obviously, was being in India and witnessing the ceremony. So put two and two together. And I learnt Ganesha, the ceremony, while I was there. And I just felt things changed within me.
Yeah.
That's when, I mentioned I've done ceremonies and the resistance within the psyche, where I'd go to do a Ganesha ceremony at times. I felt things crawling on my back, which sounds disgusting. But it felt, the best way I can explain that is, you've seen the movie Matrix, on Matrix 3, when they go to the city, the light city or so, and you've got those little spider things, little crawly things.
Yep.
If I had to describe, it's more like stuff like that. It felt like I didn't feel like I was possessed or anything like that, but it felt like those crawly things, certain things that's within the psyche that has some sense of life force, was getting uncomfortable. And instead of freaking out, it's like using that competitive aspect of myself, I went, yeah, okay, yeah, be scared because I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to transcend all of it.
Yeah.
So that just instead of becoming scared and ceasing what I was doing, hoping that things go away, I went, yeah, okay, it's what I need to do. So I did it more. So anywhere where there was a challenge or I sense felt things intuitively, that any fear came up on some level, it's like, yeah, no, I'm going to see through that. Even if it was whatever was that fear embodied, I still wanted to face it. And
Can I?
yeah,
Sorry. Can I just ask, for those who aren't familiar with any of the deities, can I just ask you to explain what Ganesha represents?
Yeah, so Ganesha represents the many things, but for me, and what's most known as Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. So he's a great protector and removes obstacles that come your way. So that's where he drew me in. He drew me in. Not as he or she. Obviously, it's a masculine energy, but there's nurturing aspects I feel. So that's what I wanted, removing. And actually, I'll tell an interesting story. So I felt affiliation, and the Ganesha mantra I used to use was Om Gung Ganapati Namaha, Om Gung Ganapati Namaha, Om Gung Ganapati Namaha. And on the way back after 3 months, so we accumulated quite a bit of stuff in India and wanted to take as much of it back as we could. Like I bought little trinkets and things for ceremonies in Australia. And so we packed the bags, and I was absolutely overloaded. We're probably about 15 to 20 kilos overweight. And we're at the airport, and we got to the person that was checking us in and said, "Oh, yeah, no, sorry, you can't take this stuff." I went, we didn't have any money left. He said, "You have to get rid of it." I went, "Oh, all right." So we packed it all on a trolley, unpacked 20 kilos worth, which is a fair bit of stuff.
Yeah.
And we lined up again, and we got a different person this time. I said, "Oh, okay, there was an issue with weight. Where's all your stuff?" And we said, "Over there." Put it to the trolley. We went, "Oh, okay. Yeah, you can't just dump it there." Like I said, "How about you just look, just load it up. Just try and wear as much of it on your body as you can." Well, okay. So we went over and had cargo pants and big jackets with heaps of pockets, and we just loaded everything up fully. And there was probably about 10 kilos overweight. I had 10 kilos on me, on us. And I bought the amazing Ganesha statue that I have, that you've seen.
Yeah.
That I have this day that I still use. And it's pretty heavy. Like its weighs probably about 10 kilos. I had him in a brown paper shopping bag, and I was carrying him one up, trying to make it look light, and it was just my arm was shaking, especially in the plane, because I had a big backpack full of stuff which they didn't weigh, luckily, and this Ganesha that I bought in India, and I thought, at any point they go, yeah, nah, it's put it away, and so we're lining up. And I'm doing the Ganesha ceremony to Om Gung Ganapati Namaha, Om Gung Ganapati Namaha, Om Gung Ganapati. It's the whole time. I was waiting for about 10, 15 minutes to check in. And there's a different guy, and it's a different line. And he said, "Yep, okay." And I'm, "Wow, thanks, Ganesha." Like, thank you. I got to work obstacles, and so all those things, the trinkets and everything in India, that meant a lot. That we got it through, and then like on the plane, just trying to try and make it look light. I remember going through the the thing that buzzes that you walk through, and my pockets were absolutely chockers, and it kept going off because I couldn't find the other. Like, I forget there was a pocket somewhere at the back or something. I go, no, something else. And the tray was just absolutely loaded up of stuff to go through the X-ray machine. And then I'm opening up my pockets, and I had a couple of Ganga stones and stones from the Ganges and everything that I used and I still have today that feel connected to. And then some money fell out of my pocket, and he's pointing at that. They say, "Pick it up." Looks like it's almost like a bribe. I'm going, "Oh no, I know," but over the line, and I have to thank Ganesha and the fact that I learnt the ceremony as easily as I did, and that's the first bit of Sanskrit that I really learnt.
Yeah,
it just flowed. And for me, the deities in India, it's not about, you believe in this god or that god. It's my understanding, and this is how it sits with me is God is all encompassing. There is nothing that excludes from oneness, which is God, the universe, divine, whatever you want to call. God. The term God triggers some people.
Yep.
But what God means to you may mean something different to me and everyone else. So it's not about saying your version of God and your definition of God is this because it's the same as mine. It's like, well, I'd rather say, oh, what does God mean to you? Rather than going, no, it doesn't the same meaning as I have it. So you shouldn't say God because I don't, it doesn't resonate with me. If you say it excludes no thing, it's all encompassing. Whether you can say, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it what you like.
Yeah.
I don't get triggered so easily with words like that. So it's, to me, Ganesha is the aspect of God that removes obstacles and that breaks through. And that's nothing today taking anything away from Ganesha or God, because it's, one and the same is how I feel, how I see it is. So it's embracing, with you, Linda, one could say, I love how you're, a nurturing mother, or I love how your sense of humor, or whatever it is, or, Mike, your husband, would say, I love how you're a loving partner, and,
Yeah.
and then talking about different individual things. It's all aspects of you.
Yeah.
And it's to be embraced. So to me, that is where Ganesha sits, and there's other deities as well, and Shiva's hugely popular in India as well, and Shiva represents the great destroyer. It doesn't mean that he goes around trying to destroy things. It's about destroy it. My understanding is bringing about change and potential for something new. So destroying the old to bring in new.
Yeah.
You can, in any understanding, instead of defaulting to the fear, use whatever comes your way as fuel, and don't discard anything. Discard the things that don't work for you, but if something doesn't work, use that as motivation to find something else. So I'm an extreme optimist, as I'm sure you'll agree. Like I always look for the jewel in every situation, the diamond.
Yep.
In the under pressure, diamond will appear. So I enjoy, and that's why I ask a lot of questions. I tend to sort of, with conversations, I tend to ask a lot of questions to try and help unravel and find that, and give people based on my understanding, an opportunity to see some potential amongst whatever has happened.
Yeah.
So, and it's not always easy, but that's my goal always. Thanks for listening in to another episode of Awakenings. We hope you join us on the next one.